Welcome to the Limebridge Learn from the Leaders series. Each organisation has its own unique culture, a culture that can make life either very hard or very easy for the Chief Customer Officer who's tasked with the job of bringing the customer to be front and centre for the organisation. In some organisations it's sales, in some organisations it may be engineering, in others it'll be product. How does this affect where the Chief Customer Officer needs to focus their effort to really get traction for their customer-focused initiatives? In this edition, we have Jeanne Bliss with us, who's going to help us answer that question. Jeanne has been for the last 25 years in the role of Chief Customer Zealot, in roles that we would now call Chief Customer Officer, in organisations such as Land's End, Microsoft and Mazda Motors. Jeanne, how do you decide where to start with your customer-focused initiatives to gain traction and momentum in the organisation?
You know, the customer work is as much about motivation as it is about accountability and creating clarity of how to drive the work forward. There's really three things inside of an organization that get in the way, and those are metrics, motivation, and mechanics, the ability of the silos to work together. And what occurs inside of most organizations is a brave soul or souls are attached to the customer effort, and they go forging into the organization without first taking stock of something that I call the power core. Now, the power core of your organization is the strongest skill set of the company. It's usually the founder's skill set and the skill set of the senior executives. And so it's what they rely on most regularly to define what success is in the organization. Those competencies also that those folks have are the things that are the most heralded in the organization. So let's say you have a sales power core. Sales is an easy one, right? It's about getting the incoming sales. It's about quarterly sales goals. Or you might have a product power core where you look at the organization and it's about product development, looking over your shoulder at competitive differentiation in the market, who can get the first widget out to the marketplace. But what occurs is, depending on the power core of your company, you possess or don't possess a set of competencies that's required and which, quite honestly, is held in high esteem in companies who are very customer-focused. Now, what happens inside of organizations is these brave souls and the customer effort is said, we're going to go drive across the organization, but they don't first reconcile what the power core of their company is. So they don't take stock of what the natural tendencies and the natural set of priorities are for the company and start to slam the customer work on top of and sometimes in opposition with the power core of the organization. Now, there's 5 power cores that usually exist in most companies, and companies have one and sometimes a secondary power core. These are the sales power core, easy to understand. The marketing power core, for example, in the automotive industry for a long time, and in some it still exists, marketing is about how to sell the cars. It's about the brand and the slick brochure and those golf outings and all those other things, and the experience doesn't connect to the brand promise. IT, information technology, has become an odd power core of late as CRM and more importance is placed around those IT projects. And what has happened is inadvertently the power has been placed on IT. And what happens? Those projects are created in terms of the silos and then organized in terms of a queue that may or may not have anything to do with the customer priorities. Then there's another power core, which is the vertical power core. Let's say, for example, you're a hospital. You align what you do around the execution of tasks that are important to you. Admitting, getting around compliance. Even doctors don't call customers or patients by their name. They say, I've got an appendectomy at 6 and tonsils at 8. These are the things that leave the customer out the door. And if you don't define and understand which of your power cores you have, you don't know how big the chasm is that you have to cross to integrate in the new competencies to become customer-focused. These are understanding what the customer experience is and attaching accountability across the silos for the handoff of those, really listening to customer needs at the front line and on a regular basis integrating those into the customer experience and attaching motivation and reward and accountability and most importantly a shared accountability across the silos. And so this is what happens with most companies. They start the customer effort. Everybody wants to do it. There's a lot of energy, but it flames out. You know why? Because the power core hasn't been asked to the dance.